Imagine a continent, Europe, a place of diverse cultures and long histories. For centuries, its many nations often found themselves in conflict, wars were fought, and borders shifted like sand dunes. But what if these nations could find a way to work together? What if they could build something new, something based on peace and shared goals? This very idea, this grand experiment in cooperation, is the heart of the European Union, often simply called the EU. It is a unique partnership between countries, a club of nations that have decided to join forces for the common good of their citizens. The European Union is not a country itself, like France or Germany. It doesn't have a single president or a single army that replaces national ones. Instead, think of it more like a vast, intricate agreement. Member countries remain independent sovereign nations. They keep their own languages, their own traditions, and their own distinct identities. However, they have chosen to pool some of their resources and decision-making power in certain areas. This allows them to tackle challenges that are too big for any single country to handle alone, from trade to environmental protection. It's a complex dance of unity and diversity. The core purposes of the EU are beautifully simple, yet profoundly ambitious. First and foremost, it aims to promote peace. After the devastation of two world wars that began in Europe, the founders of the EU were determined to make future conflicts between member states unthinkable. Another vital purpose is to foster prosperity. By creating a single market where goods, services, money, and people can move freely, the EU strives to boost economic growth and create jobs. It also champions values like democracy, human rights, and the rule of law, both within its borders and on the global stage. So, the EU is more than just a political or economic bloc. It represents a vision of a continent where former adversaries become partners, a vision where cooperation triumphs over conflict, and where shared challenges are met with collective action. It is an ongoing project, constantly evolving, facing new tests, and adapting to a changing world. Understanding this unique entity is key to understanding modern Europe and its place on our planet. It's a story of human ingenuity and the quest for a better, more stable future for millions of people across many lands. Our story begins in a Europe scarred by war. The first half of the 20th century had seen unimaginable destruction. Cities lay in ruins and millions had lost their lives. The leaders of the time knew that something fundamental had to change to prevent such horrors from ever happening again. They looked for the root causes of these conflicts. One major factor they realized was the competition for vital resources, particularly coal and steel. These were the very materials needed to wage war. The idea was simple yet revolutionary. What if these essential resources were managed jointly? This spark of an idea led to the first crucial step. In 1951, 6 founding countries, Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands, signed the Treaty of Paris. This treaty created the European Coal and Steel Community, or ECSC. By pooling their coal and steel production under a common authority, these nations made it materially impossible for one to secretly arm itself against another. It was a practical step towards peace, binding former enemies together through shared economic interests. This was not just about economics. It was a profound political statement, a commitment to a shared future. The success of the ECSC paved the way for further integration. The founding members saw the benefits of cooperation and decided to expand it to other economic areas. In 1957, the same 6 countries signed the Treaties of Rome. These treaties established 2 more crucial organizations, the European Economic Community, or EEC, and the European Atomic Energy Community, or Euratom. The EEC aimed to create a common market, gradually removing trade barriers like tariffs and quotas between member states. Imagine goods flowing freely, like water finding its easiest path, boosting businesses and offering more choices to consumers. These early communities were the building blocks of what we now know as the European Union. The journey was not always smooth. There were debates, disagreements, and moments of uncertainty, as you would expect in any grand human endeavor. However, the underlying vision of peace and prosperity through cooperation remained a powerful driving force. The initial focus was largely economic, but the political aspirations were always present. It was about creating an ever closer union among the peoples of Europe, a phrase that still resonates today. This was the dawn of a new era for the continent. The initial group of 6 nations was just the beginning. Like a popular club, the European communities started to attract interest from other European countries. They saw the economic benefits and the political stability that membership offered. The first wave of expansion came in 1973. Denmark, Ireland, and the United Kingdom decided to join the club, bringing the total number of member states to 9. This was a significant step, showing that the model of cooperation was appealing beyond the original founders. Each new member brought its unique culture, history, and economic strengths, enriching the community. The 1980s saw further growth, particularly towards southern Europe. Greece joined in 1981, followed by Spain and Portugal in 1986. These countries had relatively recently transitioned to democracy, and joining the European communities was seen as a way to consolidate their democratic institutions and modernize their economies. The EU, in turn, offered them support and solidarity. This expansion highlighted another aspect of the EU's mission, to support democracy and development across the continent. The European family was steadily growing, becoming more diverse and more representative of Europe as a whole. A truly transformative moment came with the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and the subsequent collapse of communism in Central and Eastern Europe. Suddenly, countries that had been separated from Western Europe for decades by the Iron Curtain were free to choose their own destiny. Many looked towards the European Union as a beacon of hope, stability, and prosperity. The EU in turn faced a historic opportunity and a profound responsibility to welcome these nations. This led to the largest single enlargement in 2004 when 10 countries, including Poland, Hungary, and the Czech Republic, joined simultaneously. This eastward expansion dramatically changed the face of the EU. It reunited a continent that had been artificially divided for nearly half a century. Bulgaria and Romania followed in 2007, and Croatia became the 28th member state in 2013. Each enlargement brought new challenges, of course, integrating new economies, aligning laws, and ensuring that the decision-making processes could still function effectively with more members required careful planning and adaptation. However, the overall story of EU expansion is one of remarkable success in spreading peace, democracy, and economic opportunity across a wider European landscape. The most recent significant change was the departure of the United Kingdom in 2020, a reminder that this union is a voluntary one. So what does the European Union actually do on a day-to-day basis? Its functions are vast and varied, touching many aspects of life for its citizens. One of its primary functions is to manage the single market. This is like a giant marketplace for all member countries. It means that goods, services, capital, and people can move freely across the borders of EU countries with few or no restrictions. Imagine a business in one EU country being able to sell its products easily in another, or a citizen being able to live, work, or study in any member state. This freedom is a cornerstone of the EU. Another crucial area is lawmaking. The EU creates laws that apply across all its member countries in specific areas where they have agreed to act together. These laws cover a wide range of subjects, from environmental protection standards like rules on clean air and water, to consumer rights, ensuring products are safe and that people are treated fairly. There are also rules for agriculture, fisheries, and regional development, aiming to support farmers and less prosperous areas. These laws are debated and decided by institutions like the European Parliament, elected by citizens, and the Council of the European Union, representing member governments. The EU also plays a significant role on the world stage. It acts as a major trading bloc, negotiating trade deals with countries around the globe. This collective bargaining power often means better terms than individual countries could achieve on their own. Furthermore, the EU provides development aid to poorer countries and responds to humanitarian crises. It also works on common foreign and security policy issues, although this area remains more sensitive as foreign policy is often seen as a core national power. The aim is to allow Europe to speak with a more unified voice on global issues. Finally, the EU manages a budget. This budget is funded by contributions from member states and is used to finance its various policies and programs. This includes funding for infrastructure projects like roads and bridges, support for research and innovation, and programs for education and cultural exchange, such as the famous Erasmus Plus program, which allows students to study abroad. The EU's functions are all about working together to achieve common goals that would be harder or even impossible for individual countries to achieve alone. It's a complex machine with many moving parts, all designed to serve the collective interest. Section 5. Journeys Without Borders, Unveiling the Schengen Area. Imagine traveling from Paris to Berlin, or from Rome to Amsterdam, without ever having to show your passport at a border. This seamless travel experience is a reality for hundreds of millions of people thanks to something called the Schengen area. It's a zone within Europe where internal border controls have been largely abolished. This means that for the most part, once you are inside the Schengen area, you can cross from one participating country to another as easily as you might travel between different regions within your own country. It's a remarkable achievement in free movement. The Schengen area is named after the small village of Schengen in Luxembourg. It was here, in 1985, that 5 of the then 10 EEC member states, Belgium, France, Germany, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands, signed an agreement to gradually remove checks at their common borders. This was initially an agreement outside the formal structures of the European communities. The idea was visionary, to create a Europe without internal frontiers, allowing people to move with unprecedented freedom. It took several years to implement the necessary measures to make this a reality. The purpose of the Schengen area is primarily to facilitate the free movement of persons, a core principle of European integration. By removing internal border checks, it makes travel easier for tourists, business people, and citizens living in border regions. Think of the time saved, the reduced hassle, and the symbolic power of being able to cross a border without stopping. To make this possible, participating countries had to agree on common rules for controls at the external borders of the Schengen area, the borders with non-Schengen countries. They also had to strengthen cooperation between their police forces and judicial systems to combat cross-border crime. It's important to note that the Schengen area is not exactly the same as the European Union. While most EU countries are part of Schengen, some are not. Conversely, some non-EU countries are also part of the Schengen area. This distinction can sometimes be a little confusing, but it highlights that European cooperation takes different forms and involves different groups of countries depending on the specific area of policy. The Schengen system represents a deep level of trust and cooperation among its members, built up over decades. Section 6. The Schengen Club, who belongs and why? So, which countries are actually part of this borderless travel zone? As of our current moment in 2025, the Schengen area comprises 27 European countries. This includes 23 of the 27 EU member states. The EU countries that are currently outside the Schengen area but are legally obliged to join once they meet the necessary conditions include Bulgaria, Cyprus, and Romania. Ireland is the only EU member state that has an opt-out and maintains its own border controls, partly due to its common travel area with the United Kingdom, which is not in the EU. Interestingly, the Schengen Club also includes 4 non-EU countries: Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, and Switzerland. These countries have chosen to participate in the Schengen arrangements through special association agreements. This allows their citizens and citizens of Schengen countries to enjoy the benefits of passport-free travel between them and the rest of the zone. For countries like Norway and Switzerland, which have close economic and social ties with their EU neighbors, participation in Schengen is incredibly valuable for trade, tourism, and daily life for those living near borders. Joining the Schengen area isn't automatic. Countries must prove they are capable of managing their section of the external Schengen border effectively. They also need to apply common Schengen rules, such as those relating to short-stay visas, the Schengen visa, and cooperate with other Schengen countries on law enforcement matters through systems like the Schengen Information System, or SIS. This system allows authorities to share information on wanted persons, missing individuals, and stolen objects. It's a complex set of requirements designed to ensure security within the zone once internal controls are lifted. The benefits of being in the Schengen area are quite clear. For individuals, it means easier travel and a greater sense of European identity. For businesses, it means faster and cheaper transport of goods and easier business travel. However, there are challenges too. Managing the common external border effectively is a huge responsibility, especially during times of increased migration or security threats. There have been instances where some Schengen countries have temporarily reintroduced internal border checks in response to specific crises, showing that the system requires constant vigilance and cooperation to maintain its integrity and trust. Section 7. One money, many nations, introducing the Eurozone. Beyond the free movement of people, imagine a zone where many different countries use the very same currency. This is the reality of the Eurozone, officially known as the Euro area. It's a group of European Union member states that have adopted the euro as their official currency. This means that if you travel from, say, Spain to Finland, or from Ireland to Slovakia, you don't need to change your money. The notes and coins look the same and have the same value. This is a monumental step in economic integration, creating one of the largest currency areas in the world. The idea of a single European currency had been discussed for decades. The goal was to deepen the single market by removing the costs and uncertainties of exchanging different currencies. Fluctuating exchange rates could make trade and investment between countries more risky and expensive. A single currency, it was argued, would eliminate these problems, foster price transparency, and encourage greater economic stability and integration. The groundwork for the euro was laid out in the Maastricht Treaty of 1992, which also formally established the European Union itself. The euro was officially launched on January 1, 1999, but initially only for electronic transactions and accounting purposes. Actual euro notes and coins entered circulation on January 1, 2002, in what was a massive logistical operation. 12 EU countries made the switch at that time. This was a moment of great excitement and perhaps a little apprehension for many citizens, as they said goodbye to their familiar national currencies like the German mark, the French franc, or the Italian lira, and embraced the new euro. It was a tangible symbol of European unity in people's pockets. To manage this single currency, a new institution was created, the European Central Bank, or ECB. Based in Frankfurt, Germany, the ECB's primary objective is to maintain price stability in the Eurozone. In other words, to keep inflation low and predictable. The ECB works together with the national central banks of the Eurozone countries to set interest rates and manage the money supply for the entire area. This means that individual Eurozone countries give up control over their own monetary policy. Decisions are made collectively for the benefit of the whole Eurozone. This is a significant sharing of economic sovereignty. Section 8. Eurozone members and money matters. Who uses the euro? As of today, in mid-2025, the Eurozone comprises 20 of the 27 EU member states. The original 12 members that adopted the euro in 2002 were Austria, Belgium, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Ireland, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Portugal, and Spain. Since then, the Eurozone has gradually expanded as more EU countries have met the necessary economic conditions to join. These conditions, known as the Maastricht criteria or convergence criteria, relate to things like low inflation, stable exchange rates, and sound public finances, including manageable government debt and deficits. Over the years, several other countries have successfully navigated these criteria and adopted the euro. Slovenia was the first of the newer EU members to join in 2007, followed by Cyprus and Malta in 2008. Slovakia adopted the euro in 2009, Estonia in 2011, Latvia in 2014, Lithuania in 2015, and most recently, Croatia joined the Eurozone on January 1, 2023. Each new entrant sees it as a step towards deeper economic integration and stability. For citizens and businesses in these countries, it often means easier trade, more transparent pricing, and the elimination of currency exchange costs with their major trading partners. Not all EU countries use the euro, however. Denmark has a formal opt-out, meaning it is not obliged to join. Other EU countries, such as Sweden, Poland, Hungary, the Czech Republic, Bulgaria, and Romania, are legally committed to adopting the euro eventually, once they meet the convergence criteria. However, the timeline for their adoption can vary, and in some cases there might be domestic political debates about the timing or desirability of joining. So the Eurozone is a club with clear entry rules, designed to ensure the stability of the common currency. Being part of the Eurozone offers significant benefits. It eliminates exchange rate risk for trade between member countries, making business planning easier and reducing costs. It increases price transparency, allowing consumers to compare prices more easily across borders. It can also lead to lower interest rates and greater macroeconomic stability due to the credibility of the European Central Bank. However, there are challenges too. Countries give up their ability to devalue their currency to boost exports or to set their own interest rates to manage their national economy. This means that during economic downturns, adjustments can be more difficult, sometimes requiring painful internal reforms. Section 9, A Shared Destiny, Weighing the Pros and Cons. We've journeyed through the European Union, the Schengen area, and the Eurozone. These are three distinct yet interconnected circles of cooperation in Europe. Each represents a different level of integration, with its own set of benefits and challenges for the countries involved. For the European Union as a whole, the overarching benefit has been peace. Decades of cooperation have made war between member states, once a tragic regularity, virtually unthinkable. The single market has also spurred economic growth, created jobs, and provided consumers with more choice and lower prices. The Schengen area's primary gift is freedom of movement. For millions of Europeans, the ability to travel, work, and live across a vast expanse of the continent without internal border checks is a cherished reality. It simplifies life, boosts tourism, and fosters a stronger sense of European identity. However, this openness also presents challenges, particularly in managing external borders effectively and coordinating security in an era of global threats and migration pressures. Maintaining the balance between freedom and security is a constant task for Schengen members, requiring deep trust and collaboration. The Eurozone, with its single currency, has brought tangible economic advantages to its members. It has eliminated currency exchange costs, reduced risks for businesses, and facilitated cross-border trade and investment. Price transparency and the ECB's focus on stability are also significant pluses. Yet the Eurozone has also faced severe tests, notably during the sovereign debt crisis. Giving up national monetary policy means that countries cannot use exchange rate adjustments to cope with economic shocks. This can lead to difficult economic adjustments and has exposed differences in economic performance and policy needs among member states. Ultimately, membership in these European structures is a balancing act. Countries weigh the advantages of pooled sovereignty, economic integration, and collective security against the loss of some national autonomy and the constraints of common rules. The EU, Schengen, and the Eurozone are not static entities. They are constantly evolving, adapting to new realities, and facing debates about their future direction. They represent a bold experiment in how nations can work together to address shared challenges and build a more prosperous and peaceful future. This grand human endeavor, this quest for unity and diversity, continues to shape the destiny of a continent.